Hello, we're back again, Martha Alderson, the Plot Whisperer, and we are here today for step 23. We're just about winding up the plot series, How Do I Plot a Novel, Memoir, Screenplay, and which is also coincides with our Santa Cruz Traveling Mystery Tour, so I hope that you'll follow along with that too. But so now we're at the end of the book that you're plotting out for yourself. And so we started on step 22 at the very beginning of the end, and now we're sort of moving up towards the climax. So today what I want to do is to talk a little bit more about thematic significance, because the theme of your story is really important just to have in the back of your mind and to start to explore and to ask yourself questions. What am I really trying to say here? Why am I writing this book? What do I want my reader to be left with at the end? Because the thematic significance can really bring a lot of depth and meaning and nuance and just longevity to your project. So it's a very fun, I think, subject to sort of explore. And when we were on step 18, which is in the middle of your project, I did introduce thematic significance, and I had you do an exercise. So if you want to refer back to that, please be my guest. But today we're going to talk more about the thematic significance. It's one of the plot lines, one of the three major plot lines. So if you think of plot as when a character is transformed over time because of the dramatic action, the story means something, or it has thematic significance. In other words, the character goes through all the different scenes and the different, things that they're confronted with, the events and the people and the antagonists and the, the internal awakening and all of that over time in order to be changed at the least or transformed at the best by the climax. And when you go through a transformational process like that, it's not a small feat. I mean, it's really major, and because of how symbolic it is and how important it is to the evolution of our planet and who we are as humans, it takes on huge thematic significance. But what I find that's really frustrating about talking about thematic significance is that theme at this level is really coming from the heart. Whereas when we try to talk about it or define it, we have to use words, which means it's coming from our head. So it's tough to talk about something from the head or mind point of view when you're really trying to convey, sort of something that's behind the veil, so to speak, or something that is, big and important and profound. And not every story is going to have as much significance as others, but every story does have themes that they deal with and some sort of significance about the story overall. So I just want you to sort of think about that as we speak, that if I'm not conveying it in a way that you really understand it, it could be just the fact that it's such a esoteric sort of concept, and it's something that you just start to feel over time. When you read novels or you go to movies, you'll really start to feel what the deeper meaning is. And when you get that, you start to understand what a lot of the elements are doing to sort of bring fullness to the project. So what I thought I would mention today is that, I've mostly been talking about the universal story form, which is, I have replicated it on the plot planner, which is sort of the energy of a story and how it rises and falls in order to create, a pleasing beginning, middle, and end of a story. But I also have what I call the scene tracker, and the scene tracker is a way to be able to track your scenes to make sure they're working hard enough, so that you don't just have a scene so that it advances one thing in the story, but you want it to advance all kinds of things in the story. So one of the columns on the scene tracker is the last one, and it's the detail / thematic significance. And what you do on the scene tracker is you start filling in these blanks to see what elements you have in your story and what you need to sort of develop. And on this one column with the thematic significance, when you start, you just write down the details that are in the scene in the first draft or the second draft or the third draft. You know, like this mural in back of us. That could be one of the details that might come up in a story. Once you understand the thematic significance, you take a rather, vague and not necessarily well-developed detail, and you then try to bring meaning to that, or use that to bring more meaning to the entire piece. So that when you first start in drafts, you're not going to think about all the authentic details, or if you do, you're going to be in trouble. I'm working with a woman now who is a fantastic writer, just a beautiful writer, beautiful descriptions and just a beautiful way with language, but she's a big picture creative writer, and she has a lot of trouble with structure and plot, obviously. And what she does is she'll start to get into the descriptions of the scene, or the mural or whatever, goes way off on some kind of a tangent and has to come back. And so that's why I say in the first few drafts, don't go for the authentic details. Just put whatever first comes to you, track it on a scene tracker, then start to look at the details and see, can I change these details so they reflect the thematic significance I'm trying to convey in my overall story. And what you usually do is at the beginning of the story, you might start to sort of define some of the terms that thematically are coming up. In the middle, you'll start to sort of deepen the understanding of what the thematic significance is all about. And then at the end, you want the reader to walk away feeling like, wow, I really understood that story. It was all about family and coming to terms with family and how far someone will go to protect their own family. And what is the definition of family? Is it just the nuclear family, or is it the community at large, or is it the actual world level? So anyway, it's just something to think about. If you're on your first draft, just have it in the back of your mind. If you're starting to gear up for more final drafts, you might want to really start to try to come up with a thematic significance statement, which we'll work on another step, where you can actually develop the statement that will sort of apply to the entire story. But for now, I want you to just think about the details that you're bringing into your story, and what do they add. You don't want something to be there just because it came to you. You want every single word to contribute to the overall meaning of the piece. And again, not at the beginning when you're first doing your first few drafts, but as you're perfecting your story, you want all of it to come together to bring meaning. So some of this is in Blockbuster Plots, Pure and Simple, my first book, and there's a whole thematic significance area in the back. I didn't know as much then as I feel like I know now about thematic significance, but it's a great place to start, and it's a great, it talks all about the scene tracker and the plot planner. So if you're curious about trying to track your scenes, this will show you exactly, take you by the hand and just walk you through the steps. And then I have a blog, The Plot Whisperer, if you want to go for more information there. I sort of unwind from plot consultations, and I'll put down, things that have come up with the writers, and just things that I think that other writers might be interested in. And then my website is Blockbuster Plots, Pure and Simple, and the contest website is Santa Cruz Traveling Mystery Tour. So thank you for visiting, and good luck with your story.